Hockey show. I'm the Trev. It's too sweet. Anyway, I want to apologize. I mistakenly said the Islanders were from Rhode Island when in actuality they're from Long Island. So, Trev bombs geography, and to anybody who noticed and anybody who was bothered, my sincerest apologies. That was not meant out of disrespect. I am normally good with geography. How I mixed up Rhode and Long Island, I have no idea, but these things happen. Anyway, moving on. I'm doing something today that I've never done as far as regular season is concerned. That, if this goes well, I might just start doing it regularly for every season that I talk about. I'm going to go over my thoughts on how every team's doing at the halfway point. Now, granted, not every team has played 42 games just yet, or 41 games, sorry. Some teams couldn't really control that, but a lot of teams are close. So, being some teams are over and some teams are close, now's as good a time as any to talk about this subject, so let's do it up. So basically, I'm just running off NHL.com's up-to-date stats. I'm not running this against my division picks from the beginning of the season. We'll do that at the end of the season. I'm just going by what I have in front of me, and we're going to go by division. So let's start with the Atlantic. So Atlantic Division, your top four. Florida, if you can believe that, is kicking all the ass right now. They are tied with Tampa, but the fact they're this high up, I mean, how many experts predicted they'd be that far up? But here's the most interesting stat. Your differential, plus 48. They got scoring, which is a great thing. 21-3-0 home record is even better. That's a promising thing to see for a team that really needs something like that to happen, given their audience. Reinhardt and Bennett were great additions, let me tell you. Tampa Bay, same record, with one more loss and one more game in hand. But they're doing Tampa things, just give them time. You'll see the real Tampa. I mean, just because they're in second doesn't mean their season's over. Now, Toronto, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Everybody expected better from Toronto. And granted, 25-10-3 is nothing to sneeze at. They're still third in their division. But this is Toronto. And this is their halfway point. Plus 29 in goal differentials. Good home record. Here's your away record. But again, it's still early for them. Boston, 24-13-2. I honestly thought Boston was going to be where Toronto is. I think. But again, they're getting used to doing things a little differently now. I mean, with Rask only being there for what's left of the season and his play questionable at best, they still have that goaltending problem to solve. And, outside of all that, trade deadline's coming up, and Boston has to make some moves. Detroit, at least they're not last. That's a great thing, and I think a lot of Detroit, at least what makes me happy in Detroit, is Moritz Seider. I mean, granted, that goal differential could be a lot better. Granted, having Seider on there is a great thing, but when Seider develops and he becomes better, it's going to be a scary beast. Buffalo, at least they're not last. So you have to worry about you might still have to worry about them tanking the rest of the way, but I don't think it's going to happen. At least they got rid of Eichel. They got that headache behind them. Unfortunately, they miss scoring now. Home record sucks. Road record isn't any better. But they're riding a one-game win streak, so that's something. If they do everything right, if Owen Power comes in next season and knocks all the socks off, that'll be scary. Now, Ottawa isn't close to half yet. They've only got 35 games, but most of the Canadian teams are kind of hindered by scheduling and the way it went. They're on the rise. I mean, 12-23 is not the best record, but I think everybody, including the experts, figured they'd be a lot worse than what they are. But they've been showing flashes of just how scary good they might be in a year or two. Now Montreal. These were your Cup finalists last season, and I think we all know that was just a fluke and shouldn't have happened. 8-25-7. As I'm recording this, last in the league. Stanley Cup finalists, last in the league. 287 win percentage. Ooh. Minus 58. They've let in 58 more goals than they've scored. It's they'll be glad when the season's over. I guarantee you that. But there's your Atlantic division. So as it stands right now, I think it's safe to rule out Montreal, Ottawa, and Buffalo for being anywhere close to playoff contention. I know it's early, but it is also halfway, so it's about this time when you start thinking, even though it might not be mathematically possible yet, I think it's safe to write them out. Let's talk about the Metro. Here's your Metro division as it stands right now. First four is where your competition lies, and this is scary because this division is always competitive. But the Rangers are sitting first in the division. It's a very impressive 60 points. Honestly, I didn't think the Rangers were going to be on top of the division right now. But with a home record as dominant as that, and they're winning on the road too. I mean, yeah, goaltending is still kind of a question mark in theory, but they've got enough muscle power and defense to sustain that. Pittsburgh, number 2. What's happening? I mean, they're supposed to be getting old. They're supposed to suck. But they're sitting second in the division. And granted, I'm telling myself, it's only the halfway point. 5-game win streak right now. And Crosby's still scoring. And Malkin's still contributing, even though Malkin's missed how much of the season? I think it's almost safe to say you can never rule out the Penguins. Carolina, I thought was going to dominate this division right from the start. But, again, in a case like Carolina, I think Tampa, 45 goals for. They're doing Carolina things. They'll heat up. When the time's right, they'll make their noise. I guarantee it. Washington's still rounding out the top 4. They're still competitive. Ovi is still lighting it up like nobody's business. And I think a lot of that is chasing the record. I mean, getting assists on rebounds is a nice thing to have happen. But, who's to say what'll happen in this top 4 from now to the end of the season? Here's your bottom 4. Columbus is actually doing better than I thought they would. I mean, they're supposed to still be rebuilding right now. And granted, they're not as competitive as they are normally known to be. It could just be a case of late blooming, but at the same token, it might be too late for a late bloom. Jersey still gets no luck. I mean, losing Hamilton for the long term does not help their defense at all, and the differential shows. But again, as I said in the predictions video, when they trade Subban, everything will be better. Islanders, however, the only thing that's really going right for the Islanders is they have a brand new arena in the UBS Center. But they're playing 500. Unfortunately, 500 doesn't do any good anymore. But they're not being outscored. They've only got a minus 11. Identical records for home and road. I mean, it's not too late for them, but at the same token, with the Metro, it probably is. And much in the case of Philly, I think it's safe to write them right off. What's going on in Philly, other than expiring contracts? I mean, a minus 41 with Carter Hart in your net should not be the number you want. It should not be the example or the result you're happy with. Changes are needed in Philly. Playoff-wise, though, I think it's safe to write those 4 out. It's going to be too tough, and it's just too competitive a division for them to make any ground, I think. So, it's my thoughts on the East. So with that, let's go out west. Here's your Central Division. Let's discuss. Says your top 4. And really, I suspect it'll be a rotating top 4 from this point out. And Colorado should be up top, and should be up top by a lot more. Unfortunately, when they lose, the teams underneath them usually seem to win. But they're still scoring, so it's not bad. The home record, though, is impressive. Mighty impressive. So, I mean, a 6-game win streak to boot. So there's still hope yet. Whereas St. Louis, I'm not going to lie, I thought was going to be further down the line here. But Binnington's coming alive again. They're playing hard nose. They're 37 differential, though. I mean, it's good that they have the all-around amount of scoring they have. Otherwise, they'd be ducks without a paddle. The Predators. I'd love good things for the Predators. I'd love to see them stay in the top 3 and play either St. Louis or Minnesota, whoever they manage to play. I honestly thought they were going to be bad. I thought it was just going to be a case of everything's getting too out of reach for them. They're getting older when they should be getting younger, but they're proving me nicely wrong. Minnesota's a tricky team to watch. I mean, you watch them some days, and they're just lighting everything on fire. You watch them another day, and they're just not there. And most of the time, yeah, that is on the road. With a 13-3-1 home record, though. Oh, that's awesome. Look for them to make noise as we get further down the line of this season. And your bottom 4. And I'm going to tell you, I'm surprised in a few of these. Dallas, I thought was going to be a little lower. But they're still playing. They're still trying to put some competitiveness on the ice. Unfortunately, some days it just doesn't show. Like, it's not for lack of effort, I'm sure. But maybe the whole Klingberg thing is just distracting them. Winnipeg, I thought was going to do much better. And this could just be a case of tough division. But they're 41 points compared to the 51 that Minnesota has. 10 points makes all the difference, especially now. And it's not for lack of scoring. I mean, I'd hate to think it's a case of sometimes they just cave and let the game play itself out. Chicago, I think we all expected better out of Chicago. We shouldn't have. I mean, it's your typical Chicago the last couple years. I mean, they're just clearing out space and not getting anything really good back out of it with a minus 36 differential. Ouch. With Fleury and net, with the defense they have and the defense they went out and got, there's no reason 7th should be an acceptable number in Chicago. Arizona, yeah, we knew they were going to suck. And their record shows with a 300 win percentage and 63 more goals. They can't win at home. They can't win on the road. I think they know that it's just that kind of a thing. And those things will happen to Arizona. Honestly, I think we can safely rule out Chicago and Arizona from making the playoffs. Too much ground for them to make up. And I don't think there's too many teams that would go on that big a losing streak just to make sure they get in. And lastly, we got the Pacific Division. And really, I can't see how this has gone my way for sure. I mean, it just totally puts my predictions right out of whack. But let's look into it. honestly did not expect to see all three California teams in the top four, much less Vegas at number one. And this is my own fault for ruling them out. I thought a case of no flurry and just depleting everything, but managing to stay afloat, even getting themselves a Jack Eichel in the process. They're keeping it pretty even, so that's not a bad thing at all. 5-3-2 in the last 10. Now, when they finally do have to clear space to make way for Eichel, that'll be an interesting story to have to read about. Anaheim, honestly, I thought was going to be last overall. I don't even think I can go back on that prediction at all at this point. They're just too high up. And again, they're keeping it even. I did say it'd be an exciting year to watch in Anaheim. I just didn't think it'd be that exciting. LA. I honestly thought LA was going to be worse off than this, but they're right up pace with the Ducks. Even got them better by a point in point percentage. Only thing is Anaheim has one more point thanks to a extra time loss. And much like Anaheim, keeping it close. They don't have a consistent home or away record, is pretty much what it is. But they're playing. Determined even. It'll be interesting to see how they manage to hold out the rest of the way. And San Jose, I thought their off-ice distractions were going to be too much for them. And I still do. But they're not letting it show. At the same time, they're not in the strongest division. But they do need scoring in a bad way, especially if they want to stay at fourth in the division. But, again, this is only the halfway point. Anything can happen between now and the end of the season. And here's what I mean by anything can happen. There's only 2 points separating 4 from 5. And only 4 points separating 7 from 4. Calgary I thought was going to run away a little bit harder than they are. And they were hot once upon a time this season. But have managed to make their way down to 5. It's not for lack of scoring. They can score. I think it's a lack of consistency in the schedule for them and for the Oilers. But the Oilers have no reason to be sitting in 6. Not on paper, anyway. Because, I mean, being an Edmontonian, you hear it every year. Plan the parade. Plan the parade. We're winning the cup. This is the best team we've ever put together. And right about this time, when we're at about this result, well, it's always next year. So they're not sunk yet. But they got a long way to go. Vancouver, if it weren't for the fact that they actually changed out the coach, they wouldn't be where they are. I guarantee it. And they can still make lots of moves. They can still make a lot of noise. And it could very well happen. Now that they have Boudreau behind the bench. So look for them to make some noise. Seattle, hey, it's an expansion year. We're exactly halfway point. And a lot of the GMs got smart this time when it came to the expansion draft. We still need to stop the puck from going in. So that's the Kraken's record. And as for ruling anybody out, like I said, when you got that much of a gap between 4 and 8, you can probably rule out 8. The rest, good luck the rest of the way. But that's just what I think. Just based on all that, it'll be interesting to see what comes around at trade deadline, because that's the biggest thing after the All-Star game now. So keep your eyes open. Might see some moves. So that's my thoughts on the 21-22 season at the halfway point. And this was another one of Trev's Hockey Shows. I want to thank you for tuning in, especially if you've made it this far. I honestly didn't expect it to go as far as it did, but it's my first one. So the fact that I made it 20 minutes, That's a great thing. So I really hope I kept your attention for this whole video. And if I did, give me a like. It'd be a great thing for both of us. If you want, that red button that says subscribe all over it, hit that thing. Subscribe makes you feel good. I'd love it if you did it. So give it a thought. All my socials, my social is in the description down below. Move forward. Well, as far as my thoughts on the regular season, it's been an interesting one so far. And I'm not gonna lie, it's been a bit predictable. But it'd be interesting to see how it finishes up. So check with me again at the end of the year when it comes to my thoughts on this regular season. But either way, in the meantime, and in between time, be looking for more videos from the Trev. Later.